Jake Kiska, the fiery guitarist of Greta Van Fleet, has always been known for his love of classic riffs and psychedelic textures. But recently, he's been stepping into new territory with Mirador, a collaboration with Chris Turpin, the blues-driven guitarist best known for his raw, rootsy sound. Together, the two have created something that feels both vintage and fresh, a swirling mix of heavy rock and soul-drenched blues. But here's the real question. What does this side project mean for Jake's main band, Greta Van Fleet? Let's dive into the story in 10 chapters. When Jake first crossed paths with Chris Turpin, it wasn't in a studio or on a stage. It was backstage, trading stories about their shared love of Led Zeppelin, Muddy Waters, and Free. Both guitarists grew up studying riffs that shaped generations, and instantly, a musical brotherhood was born. Instead of competing, they saw the chance to combine forces. That conversation sparked the earliest riffs that would later become Mirador, a project rooted in pure guitar worship. For Jake, it was more than just a jam. It was about breaking away from expectations and exploring music outside the Greta Van Fleet bubble. Unlike Greta Van Fleet's big production sound, Mirador began as a stripped-down experiment. Jake and Chris would sit with their guitars, plug into vintage amps, and just let the music guide them. What made it special was the balance, Jake's soaring, melodic phrasing colliding with Chris's raw, blues-soaked grit. The result wasn't polished stadium rock, but rather something rougher, dirtier, and more spontaneous. These sessions became the heartbeat of Mirador. Jake has admitted that the project gave him freedom Greta couldn't. Freedom to chase riffs without worrying about commercial expectations. For him, Mirador wasn't a side hobby. It was a necessary outlet. The first Mirador tracks revealed a Jake Kiska phase soulful fans hadn't fully seen before. His playing was darker, moodier, and more aggressive than Greta's typically polished sound. He leaned into fuzz-drenched tones, swampy rhythms, and improvisational solos. Chris Turpin's slide guitar and bluesy licks added another dimension, creating a sound that was equal parts Delta blues and psychedelic rock. Critics started calling Mirador the project where Jake finally let his guitar scream without limits. For fans, it was a shock. Was this the real Jake Kiska, unchained from the expectations of being Greta Van Fleet's lead guitarist? No matter how powerful Mirador sounded, one question loomed. How would Greta Van Fleet react? The band has always been a tight unit of brothers, Josh, Sam, and Jake, plus longtime drummer Danny Wagner. Jake's identity was deeply tied to Greta, and stepping outside the group risked tension. Fans speculated. Would Mirador signal Jake's growing distance from his bandmates, especially his twin brother Josh, the voice of Greta? For some, it felt like Jake was searching for a voice of his own, one that couldn't always shine within the collective identity of Greta Van Fleet. One reason Mirador resonated so deeply with Jake was the brotherhood he found in Chris Turpin. Unlike the family dynamics of Greta Van Fleet, where creative battles often ran hot, Mirador felt easy, natural, and ego-free. Chris wasn't trying to outshine Jake, he was pushing him to explore. Together, they created an atmosphere where mistakes became magic and raw takes often stayed untouched. For Jake, this was a relief. He could chase passion without the weight of expectation. The chemistry between the two was so electric that fans wondered if Jake had found the partnership he never knew he needed. When word of Mirador spread, critics took notice. Some praised Jake for daring to step outside of Greta's sometimes criticized retro rock label. They called Mirador grittier, more authentic, less polished. Others worried it was a distraction that might pull Jake away from Greta just as the band was reaching new heights. The comparisons were unavoidable. Greta Van Fleet was designed for arenas, but Mirador was built for sweaty clubs and late-night jams. The contrast revealed just how wide Jake's musical heart stretched, and the debate about which sound fit him best began to grow louder. Fans were split. Some Greta loyalists didn't want anything pulling Jake's attention away from the band that made him famous. To them, Mirador felt like a side road that could slow Greta's momentum. But others, especially guitar purists, loved it. They saw Mirador as proof that Jake wasn't just part of a packaged rock act, but a true guitarist's guitarist with his own vision. The project sparked a new kind of respect around Jake, giving him credibility in circles that once dismissed Greta as Zeppelin imitators. Suddenly, Jake wasn't just a band member, he was a force of his own. Behind the scenes, Mirador raised eyebrows. Jake's brothers, Josh and Sam, were supportive but cautious. Greta Van Fleet had worked for years to build their name, and now Jake was channeling his creative energy elsewhere. Was this a short-term outlet, or was it a sign he wanted more independence? The band had weathered internal clashes before, over songs, image, and creative direction. Now, Jake's outside project added another layer. Some insiders hinted at tension brewing. Greta wanted unity, but Jake's growing love for Miridor made it clear he was carving out a space that belonged to him alone. At its heart, Mirador isn't about Jake leaving Greta Van Fleet. It's about him expanding his creative universe. For years, Jake has been the quiet force in Greta, letting Josh handle the spotlight. Mirador gave him a chance to step forward, not as a frontman, but as a guitarist with his own story to tell. The project proves Jake's love for music goes beyond fame or trends. He's chasing sound for sound's sake. Whether Greta fans love or fear it, Mirador is Jake's declaration that he refuses to be boxed in by one band or one style. So what comes next? Greta Van Fleet isn't going anywhere. They're still filling arenas and recording albums. But Mirador may mark the beginning of a new chapter for Jake Kiska. It shows he's ready to grow beyond the shadow of his twin brother and beyond Greta's identity. For Jake, Mirador isn't an escape, but a mirror, reflecting who he is when the lights go down and the amps are turned up. Whether it becomes a long-term project or just a side road, one thing is clear: Jake Kiska is evolving, and the rock world is listening closely.